Okay, so we've got our Jeep motor all cleaned, stripped down, all the accessories were off of it, and now we can start really inspecting it as we go along. So valve cover is off. The spark plugs are still in because I want to rotate this engine and see if it even has compression. I've never heard this thing run. I have no idea what's inside of it. So let's give this thing a spin and see what we feel. Nope. It rotates smooth, like there's no binding points or anything, but it really has no compression. I mean, it just spins. You can hear the pistons doing their job, but nothing is sealing. So that's kind of leading me to believe this may have been an overheat, and it may have crushed a couple of the rings in the ring lands in the pistons. That'll give you something like this. I don't hear any noises. Maybe I just did. You hear that? I don't know if you can hear it. There's a pretty distinct click. Now there could be a timing chain. So what I'll do is let me rotate the number one cylinder around until we've got both of the valves open. Well, just one of them. This is fine. Okay. So we got the exhaust on the number one cylinder open. So let's see how much slop there is on the timing chain, if that's giving us our noise. No. There's something else giving us a clicking in there. But it doesn't appear, by watching the rocker as I move the crank back and forth, it doesn't appear there's a lot of slop there. And it's a pretty distinct noise. But let's continue. So let's rotate the motor around. We'll watch all of the rockers, all of the springs. Make sure everything's moving. Oh, very distinct noise right there. Making sure everything's moving the way it's supposed to, and it is. So we're going to get into a deeper inspection of the head once we pull it off. But right now we just want to make sure that everything is as it should be. All right, so at this point there's two things you want to check before you go any further. And the first is the accuracy of the damper. Now, harmonic dampers, for you guys who aren't familiar, harmonic dampers, it's where your timing marks are going to be. But harmonic dampers are in two pieces. There's a hub that actually bolts to the crank, and that's keyed to the crank. And then there's this outer inertia ring. The outer ring is held to the hub with a rubber filling, an elastomer. And that's to keep the vibration down. Over time, some of them will slip. So now is the time that you've got it at this stage before you bother taking it apart. Now is the time to check the accuracy of that. So here's our timing scale. Here's our 0 mark. Now, there's a couple of different ways you could do this. I got to bring it around one more time. A couple of different ways you can do this. One is to take the number one spark plug out, put a screwdriver in there, a thin screwdriver, hold it loosely. So bring it almost all the way to top dead center. Put the screwdriver in the number one hole, and then slowly rotate the motor while you feel the screwdriver. The piston will come up and it'll push the screwdriver down. So as it's pushing the screwdriver down, when it stops, that should zero it out. Now what you want to do is you want to go a little bit in either direction. So let's just say you feel the screwdriver, you feel the piston come up and push against the screwdriver, your mark is at 0, Go just a little bit past until you feel the piston start to go back down again. Then stop, go back an equal amount the other way and make sure that you feel the piston go down that much. What you're doing is you're splitting the dwell. At top dead center, the piston dwells for a couple of degrees of crankshaft rotation, and it varies from engine to engine. It depends on the rod ratio, how long the rod is in compared to the stroke, but that's a completely different thing. The piston will dwell at top dead center for a couple of degrees of crankshaft rotation. So with that screwdriver in the number 1 spark plug hole, you can split the dwell. You go as far as where you feel it start to go down, then you stop, come back, feel it to where it starts to go down, and split that. Or you could even mark it on the timing mark, on the timing tab. So let's say it's got 2 or 3 degrees. You'll note that it's going to be a nudge past 0 in one direction and a nudge past 0 in the other. And as long as that's equal and 0 is in the center, you know that this is going to be true. If it's off at all, order yourself a new damper because it means it has slipped. That fouls up so many people, and now's the time to catch it because you're taking it apart. So the way I'm going to check this is I rolled this thing around to top dead center. So I've got my 0 mark here, and I'm at top dead center of the exhaust stroke. So top dead center of the exhaust stroke is split overlap. So now I'm going to watch both the intake and the exhaust as I come past 0. I have to do it a couple of times. Okay, and that's showing me 0. I usually do it 2 or 3 times, just to make sure, just to triply check yourself. So right now we've got both the intake and the exhaust valve open, just exactly the same amount, and our mark is on the 0. So we confirm top dead center on the damper. We're good to go there. Okay. So since we rotated everything and we watched all of the rockers and all of the rockers doing what they're supposed to do, and all of the valve springs, none of them look like they're cracked or broken or anything like that. Everything in the top end looks nice and normal. The only other thing you want to do now is just give it a quick once over for cracks. Now, for instance, on the 4.0 Jeep motors, I know that certain year heads, from reading about this, and what you need to do is you need to research your engine. So if you put in, let's say, 4.0 Jeep cracks, right, you'll find that there are certain things that are going to be common to those engines and what to look for. Now's the time to look for it. So I know that by researching that certain year cylinder heads crack up in the top face over here. So I'm going to give that a look over and make sure that I don't see any watermarks or anything like that. I don't think this is one of those years. I think that's like 2000, 2001, I believe, and this is 1998. So I shouldn't have that problem with this head. But either way, whatever engine that you're working with, Google it. Google your engine, your year, your engine, and cracks. Just put the word cracks in there. And then you'll see, I mean, people, there are some that are very common, and then there are some that are oddball, but find the common ones and check yours to make sure. All right, so with that, let's bust the valve train and pop the head off of this thing. Now at this stage of the game, you have to make a determination. And this is going to determine whether or not you're going to disassemble this engine in a very careful and methodical way, or if you're just going to pull it apart. The difference is, was the engine you're working on built on an assembly line, like just came out of a regular stock car and it's never been touched by human hands? Or is it a high performance engine, one that was hand assembled, either by a machine shop or a hot rodder or a racer? Because depending on which type of engine you're working on, the next steps are important. If you're dealing with an assembly line engine, what you have to keep in mind is that there is no precision in the assembly process. The assembly process is done, either it's completely automated, or it's done by an assembly line worker that's just taking a batch of push rods and dropping them in the holes, a batch of rockers, sticking them on, zit, 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 and they send it. There is no precision. All production engines are built with certain clearances, certain tolerances, certain slop to allow for that assembly line build. Now, a hand-built engine is completely different. A hand-built or blueprinted engine is one that has every component matched to every other component. So one push rod, rocker, valve spring assembly has been measured out and is exact. That's blueprinting. Now, if it's an assembly line engine, it was just assembled like this one here, and it's never been opened up or modified to the best of our knowledge, there's no reason to put all of these parts in order. They weren't in order when they got assembled the first time. They don't have to be in order now. So what we want to do is we want to I use the valve cover. I like to just stick everything in the valve cover and you're going to clean that stuff up and then inspect it and reassemble it. So let me just get these off of here. A lot of guys use air tools when they pull these things apart. I don't. I like to feel every fastener. And maybe it's just me being old school, it's just my way. I have electric tools, I have air tools, but when it comes to doing stuff like this, I want to feel every bolt, I want to feel every thread, I want to make sure they're all even. It's just, and it's also a way to commune with your engine. You spend that little extra time. You're looking at each part, you're feeling each part, you're bonding with it. I know, it sounds completely batshit crazy, but it's not. It's part of being a mechanic. I'm assuming you're doing your own engine, you're not working on somebody's clock where you got to bust this thing out in 45 minutes. So like I said, since this is an assembly line engine, we're just going to drop our assemblies into the valve cover. And we're going to check our push rods. We're just going to give these a quick roll. I know, it's got to be on glass, it's got to be perfect. No, you know what? Take all these push rods just like this, lay them on a smooth surface, and roll them together. And if you have any of them that are bent, you'll know it. All right, they're all good. So, valve train stuff is good to go. We just need to clean it. Now the head. All right. So, all right, let's see. See, now that one was kind of loose. That's another sign of overheating. That one was a little bit loose also. See, you won't really get that. If you pull this apart with air tools, you're not going to feel that. Okay, that one's kind of loose. That one's very loose. Yeah. Something tells me this engine was... You hear that one? Let go like that? So something tells me that this engine was pretty severely overheated at some point. Okay. I think that's all of them. See, now this one here is, doesn't want to, it's not finger tight. The threads are a little screwed up on that one. No, there's like some kind of some kind of, I don't know, I can't tell what that is. Some kind of gummy substance on there. But we'll look at that. These are all going to come hand tight. That one's a little sticky. Some rust. And we're going to check these to stretch too before we put them back in. Now, some of you are dealing with engines that have torque-heeled head bolts. Don't even bother checking them. Just take them out and throw them away. But we're going to cover that later on when we get around to ordering parts and inspecting certain things. But if you've got torque-heeled bolts, if your engine is torque-heeled, just take the bolts and throw them away. You're not going to reuse them. These are not torque-heeled. These will get reused after we check them to make sure that they're all good. Okay, I should be able to take these off with my finger now. I don't know what to say. I feel I should be saying something. Now I'm smelling burn. As I'm taking these bolts out, I'm catching a whiff of burn. And some are definitely looser than others. Well, looking over the head, I see no obvious marks of, there's no water marks. You know, where there's a crack, there'll generally be like a rust mark, a water mark. There'll be some evidence of it. And like anywhere on this engine do I see evidence of water ever being where it shouldn't be. Except perhaps that one head bolt hole. We got one more. All right. So let's crack this puppy off here, right? Now it's all fast. You'll have to tune into the next installment to find out what's under the head. I'll see you tomorrow.